Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Welcome to On the Chain, live here with special guest John Deaton. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. He's over here on the side today. We are excited to get into this. We're going to dig a little bit into some of the feedback that we've seen, regarding the case that John Deaton is leading against the SEC on behalf of the XRP community. We're going to get into all of that, a lot more. John, hang in there for 2 seconds. Let's go.
I like that, Jeff. It's like awesome. It's all so funny,
it's
right?
All my fun. It's all
let's
my
go.
And now, the roundtable with Jeff and Chip on the chain.
And we're back. John, how are you doing, man? You've been very busy lately.
A little bit. I'm all right. You should call this episode On the Chain FUD Busters episode.
I like the sound of that. By the way, last night we got into your tweet about fight, and the 3 things you would do if you got in the ring with Iron Mike.
I mean, you did notice I said get knocked out, right?
Yeah, you said get the F knocked out is what you said specifically. So
and notice I said if I wake up
with wobbly legs.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good one, man. We went through that last night because, and again, the reason we went through that was because we're sick and tired of like people with all the misinformation and the FUD. So maybe you can help us break it down tonight. I appreciate you coming on tonight, and I'm sure we got everybody pretty excited up and fired up in the community. I'm sure
that's great.
Yeah, well, first of all, always thank you for having me. And based on after I saw that Coin Telegraph
Oh, jeez.
article, I just said, okay. And then I saw everyone tweeting, lawyers tweeting, everyone tweeting, oh, this is over. They had their one shot and it's gone and they blew it. And Deaton didn't read the rules right and all this nonsense. and so I figured it was come on, because I don't want people out there, knowing the wrong thing, basically. So
That's awesome. Yeah,
I mean,
John, man.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, either you do or you don't, and those that don't seem to sit back and try to critique those that do. It always seems to be that way. And one of the things that we brought up yesterday, and every time we kind of go through your tweets, you dove straight into the deep end with the sharks.
Oh.
And yesterday we said that just takes some, big brass ones. I mean, it's like, the SEC, there's a lot, but look at all the things that have been going on, in the XRP community, and people kind of talk on the periphery. Man, you went straight towards it.
Well, listen, I think that there's only one way to do it. If anyone deserves a seat at the table, it's XRP holders. I mean, I've seen all kinds of conspiracy theories out there about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Trust me, I'm doing what I believe is right. When I tweeted about the bankrupt system and how the SEC has fallen into just become a cesspool of corruption, in the last decade, I mean it. And I'm tired of it. And they have a responsibility. I get, everyone loves Hester Peirce, and I give her great credit for going on shows and putting herself out there, and she deserves that credit. But, every single time she speaks, what does she say? What I'm saying is not the SEC, and what I'm saying isn't even my fellow commissioners. And then goes on to say, but we're not really suggesting that XRP or any digital currency, the token itself, is inherently a security, but just the way, Ripple is using it. Well, then come out and say that. Okay, then come out and say it. But why are the exchanges delisting it? Why are the exchanges suspending it? Instead, what are they doing? They're sending risk alerts that even make it even more scary to be an exchange or to be a market intermediary. And so come out and say, we're only stating that Ripple, when they sell XRP, they're using it as a security, and that the XRP and individual XRP holders' accounts on Coinbase and Kraken and wherever else, that's not a security. Okay, and then let's move on with life. I'll go back to sleeping.
Sleeping, yeah, getting a little bit of sleep, because the whole thing to me is it's absurd, right? So they're not going after anybody else. They never alleged any fraud in the case, but yet they have this sort of chip on their shoulder. Did I say chip? I think I did.
Yep.
They got this whole thing where they're going to go out, and Hester Peirce, man, we started calling her enforcement mom, because that's what they do. All they do is enforcement. Well, where are the rules? Well, no, you'll find out the rules later. First of all, we gotta enforce, go after you with some kind of sort of an action first, and then we'll sort of figure out what the rules are. And can you imagine? Look at the billions that were raised, and look, and then XRP holders are watching every other coin and their brother and sister Moon, coins you haven't even heard of. OMG's was going nuts for a little bit. OMG, yeah. All these crazy tokens were going through the roof. Doge was having its day. Meanwhile, XRP, yes, it's up on the year, okay, but I don't think it's anywhere near where it would have been had it not been for that suit drop wave, in the last the third week of December of 2020. So let's get into breaking up some of the FUD. So some of the mistruths that are out there.
All right. Well, first of all, let's take the I don't even want to call it an article. I'm sure you saw maybe you didn't saw my tweet on Coin Telegraph.
Yeah.
Where they're saying that the SEC want an extension to respond to my motion to intervene. As I pointed out, why would you need an extension when something's already been dismissed? There's nothing to reply to, right? She dismissed it without prejudice. And so that just goes to show you that the lack of knowledge that the reporter or journalist they don't even understand what's going on. And so they're putting it out there. And then they're on top of that, in that article, it's saying, and if we don't get this extension, then XRP holders will be denied a seat at the table forever. And then you have other people tweeting that. And it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard as a lawyer. And I've heard a lot of ridiculous things, and I'll explain those things. But that's why I tweeted out that 2-day extension request by the SEC relates to Ripple. All right, it has nothing to do with the motion to intervene. And so that's one thing. I would just want to tell people, even if you see it in CoinDesk or Coin Telegraph, or even if you have people tweeting, it doesn't make it true. What I tweet doesn't make it true. I'll stand by what I say and I'll give you the facts, but take everything with a grain of salt. The problem is when one person, whether they're a lawyer or not, says, hey, this is pretty much dead for XRP holders. This is a done issue. They had until midnight tonight, the March 17th, to file it, and it's over. Okay, so let's address that. You want to know where the March 17th came up? When it came up by me in the scheduling order that exists between the two parties. That's the SEC and Ripple. The judge entered a scheduling order that 30 days after the 15th of February is the deadline for those two parties to try to add new parties. That deadline does not apply to non-parties. If that deadline applied to non-parties, then you couldn't do motions to intervene, because most of the time, the people that learn about a case, those deadlines have already passed. So all I was doing was saying to the judge, because the first factor is timeliness. And I'm saying, look, judge, I'm meeting a deadline that you established against these parties that don't even apply to XRP holders. That's how timely this motion is. I'm meeting your own deadlines that didn't even apply to me. You can say I get excited about this because people are out there all depressed because they saw someone tweet something who then someone else agreed with, and then it gets in all these articles. And so I have case law right here, okay? I got case law. You want to know what this case says? It allowed a motion to intervene 7 years after the case was filed.
So what you're saying is we have time, John.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
here's a case in the Southern District of New York, 1 year after the motion to amend, the first amended complaint was filed. The Southern District of New York allowed a motion to intervene 1 year later. So there is no deadline by us. And let me give you a little bit of legal analysis that these people were missing. One of the reasons it was denied, the primary reason it was denied, let's go over that because it relates to the timing too. If you could pull up my letter to the judge.
If you want to pull it up, you want me to pull it up?
I'll pull it up.
Pull it up. I've got it here.
That's what do I.
You got it? Well, go ahead.
Bam.
What you waiting for?
Right there.
Okay.
What do you want to go to? What page you want to go to?
I want to go to the first paragraph, second sentence, where it says, I am aware, right?
Yeah.
It says, I am aware of this honorable court's individual rules of practice in civil cases, and that under normal circumstances, this court would require a pre-motion letter. However, I strongly believe that the motion to intervene fits into one of the court's noted exceptions, because delay in filing might result in the loss of a right. So I looked at her rules and I decided, incorrectly so everybody can spear me all they want, that I needed to file the motion not in letter form like she likes, but because time is of the essence. And she disagrees because in her motion and her dismissal without prejudice, she says I need to comply with her local rules 3A. I'm not sure if you have that, if you could bring it up.
I don't know if I have 3A sitting here. Is it in here? Is it in?
It's
Find it.
If you don't, it's fine. I can explain it.
I've got it here.
Is it in the letter or is it something different?
No, it's something different.
Yeah, pull that up if you have that.
Is it her response you're
No,
talking about?
it just says motions, pre-motion letters in civil cases. Okay,
Yeah,
if you
no,
don't have it,
that up. Don't
No,
have
that's
that up.
Not
all
sure we
right.
have that
The
one.
bottom line
find it.
is in her rules, it says a pre-motion letter is required prior to the filing of any motion. And then she gives exceptions. And at the end of this paragraph, the last exception is where a delay in filing might result in the loss of a right. So you see, I referenced her rule and saying, Judge, the reason I didn't do a pre-motion letter is because of that exception. And she disagreed. And she said, denied, you need to file according with the rules, which goes to show you, if I had a deadline of midnight tonight, wouldn't I be accurate? Wouldn't there be a delay in a potential right? Right? I would.
Yeah, there would be a delay. Yeah, of course.
Right. But she's saying, no, it's dismissed. You need to do the pre-motion letter and do it the way I want it done according to my rules. So I made a judgment call and I was wrong. All right. I've never practiced in front of her. I've never claimed to be clairvoyant and perfect. I'm a flawed man. I'm a flawed lawyer. Well,
not necessarily, John, because also I work in this in a different space. It's in but you know, I can tell you that depending on where it is and which district it's at, this judge, even in the district, there's a place in New York, there's 3 different districts. They want the pleadings in 3 different separate formats. And if you give it to the one judge with the wrong format, bink, kicked back. So to me, I don't know if we can give you that much grief over that. Look, you were rushed for time as well, so I figured that you were just going in there. But hang on a second, let me get a spear. Who's got a spear for John?
Hey,
let John throw the spear, man, because you're the only one standing up and fighting right now, and everyone, you know.
Amazing.
Well, listen, I'm a person. I developed what I believe. I tried to explain to my daughters a critical asset in life is I really don't care what most people think about me unless they're important. Right. You know, my clients, I care about what they say, my family, my friends. I do care what the XRP holders believe. But the reason I get so, I don't know, motivated or upset about it is because of the effect it has on the people who don't have my experience. They don't know. They just say, oh, this person said we're out. You know, that's it. And, you know, it demoralizes people. And it's okay. It's okay if it's accurate, you know, because sometimes life is going to give you something that's not happy. It's just like, I've never said that the class action is a guaranteed. And I just said, we're going to go for it. If it gets dismissed on legal grounds down the road, you know, we tried. It's like the tweet I said, we either sit around and do nothing and complain, or
and you see a lot of that. You see a lot of that. And the other part that gets me, I mean, there's attorneys that are coming out in the space, critiquing things, providing opinion, but their experience within the court, their experience, you know, in trial, you know, it seems to be relatively limited. And it amazes me. They want to provide feedback, but their feedback is more of a critique or, you know, kind of a doom and gloom. You know, instead of trying to get into and providing some supportive explanation, they haven't done that. And, like, you know, so you've got the attorneys coming in, then people are going to say, oh, look, here's some other attorneys disagreeing, you know, so maybe they're right, you know, and then it changes, you know, and it's just, you know, can create a lot of inconsistencies in the space. And one of the things you brought up also with the reporters, because reporters are notorious for just ignoring the fact. They just want to write whatever they want to write. And then they'll worry about whether it's accurate later.
Yeah. And are they extending a hand, Jeff? Are they extending, here's an olive branch, hey, here's what we're going to do? No,
I don't see that. But what do you think, John? I mean, it seems like, I mean, here you are, you're out, you know, you kind of right out in front, going after it, and you are seeing some of this critique in the space. To me, it could just be a little bit of noise, but it's also potentially detrimental to the community, like you were saying.
Well, the problem is the impact. It has no impact on me because I don't care. This is what I say. I'm clearly not the smartest. I'm not the smartest person in this meeting right now. That we're having. That's clear. I'm not the smartest attorney. I'm not the best attorney, but I tell you what, I'm willing to go into that court and fight the SEC and stand next to Mary Jo White and hold my own. All right. That doesn't mean I'm smarter. Doesn't mean I'm better. Doesn't mean I'm more effective. But I'm not going to be scared, and I'm going to put the XRP community on my back and walk in and make the argument and make the case. I'm not gonna, can someone do it better than me? Sure. Can someone speak more eloquently than me? Sure. Can someone write better than me? Sure. But it's like I said in the tweet, okay, say what you want, but what are you doing? All right.
Wait a minute, John.
I'm
Can
trying
anybody?
to run a practice. COVID decimated my practice just like other ones because I don't, I'm a trial attorney. You don't settle cases unless there's trials. If there's no jury trials, right, there's no settlement. So, I've got like 9 employees that I've got to meet overhead, and I'm trying to do it. And so that's fine. I don't mind the critique because sometimes it can be accurate and I can learn from it if it's constructive. But the problem is the impact I see it on people when a tweet goes out and someone starts acting like they're an expert on the subject, and then you just see the demoralization happening from the people that are responding, and and that's the problem.
Well, here's the thing. I want to go to this one comment because I think it's spot on. John Deaton, the greatest of all time. So there's a lot of great things people are saying in here. Does anybody spit fire like you, man? I like how you get up and fight. I like how you get up there and you do your thing. So to me, there's another great comment here. Not really appropriate, but if you read in the comments, it's a good one. Someone put a nice little comment in there about just not appropriate for the screen, but it's nice, It's like it's what we would say in the schoolyard, as they say, right? You kind of use that kind of thing. But I also want to thank BCB blockchain backer for sending a lot of you guys over here too. If it's your first time here, like, subscribe, click that notification bell, and we'll get in. A lot of people watching in from crypto Twitter, I should say, which can be kind of crazy sometimes, John.
Oh, listen, it can be. And listen, people have been critical. Let me state first, most people, 98% of the people have been fantastic. And those are the people that make you want to fight harder. And I appreciate it. I'll never take that for granted. And sometimes I laugh at some of the comments, right? It's like someone wrote, and that's why I did that tweet, that the SEC dismantled the writ of mandamus. They just knocked it out of the park okay, have you ever heard of strategy in your life, right? Because I'm pretty sure that, as I said from the beginning, the writ of mandamus was a long shot, right?
Right, of course, you said that up front.
And if you look at it as a legal analysis, okay, will a judge order a acting chairman to do his job differently? It's a very high burden. I think that we had a shot if we had a proactive judge. Then I do believe we had a good faith basis to argue it, but it was like a 10% chance, probably, legally speaking. But that it was utilized more to force the SEC either come to the table, recognize what you have done, have the moral courage to say, okay, we're only going after Ripple and the way they sell it. And we're going to provide clarity to the market that XRP itself, the token, the digital asset, is not a security. It can be used like a security, just like Bitcoin can be, just like Ethereum can be, or any asset. But inherently in the token itself, it is not a security. That's all you have to do, right? And if exchanges, so if I buy, if I go on Coinbase and I buy XRP, then you're providing clarity that what I have in my account's not unregistered securities, and what Coinbase sold me isn't an unregistered security. If you want to argue that when Ripple sells to Coinbase that's a security, then plead it that way and attack that way, right? And I'll go back to being an asbestos lawyer. You know what I mean? And I'll go away personally, is what I'm saying, because I'm not here for Ripple. They've got way better lawyers to handle the case. And so that's the whole purpose of the writ, to force them to do something. And what did they do? They basically admitted, and this has been corroborated. If you watch that Hester Peirce interview on Thinking Crypto, it's absolutely corroborated. They basically are seeking a declaratory judgment. Declaratory judgment is when you're asking the judge to rule on something, like whether arbitration in a contract applies versus, if there's an arbitration provision in a contract, an attorney will seek a declaratory judgment. Judge, they want to sue us, but arbitration is the right form. A lot of times it's used in insurance, declaratory judgment that the insurance policy covers the loss of the homeowner or business owner. It's really asking advice from the court, so to speak. That's what the SEC is basically doing because they say, well, the Southern District of New York will decide whether it's a security. They'll decide whether we have a legitimate claim in our lawsuit against Ripple. And so Hester Peirce goes on Thinking Crypto, and what she says, well, the way I've been coming to think of it is that the token itself isn't a security, but other commissioners don't feel the same with her. Yeah. So there's this division in the SEC itself where they don't know how to classify these digital assets, and they don't know how to classify XRP. And so they've actually going to the court and suing Ripple, saying these things, as far as I'm concerned. So all we're doing is the same thing. We're going to the court and saying there is no good faith basis. You cannot claim that the XRP in Chip's account is an unregistered security. You can't do it.
No, you cannot.
And so if you look at the pages in the memorandum, all I did was incorporate what this community gave to me. I sent that tweet out that said, hey, I need help. How are you using XRP? And then so I put in the memorandum that here are some uses of XRP that even Ripple doesn't know.
That's a good point. I'll tell you what.
There's quite a few. It's amazing. Yeah, go ahead, Chip. I know you had some feedback.
Well, just say that, Jeff and I were looking through that, and we're like, wow, there's so many more use cases. If you hadn't put that tweet out and asked everybody, there were things in there I was like, I never thought of that before. And right now, as we are speaking, multiple people have Coil accounts. They're streaming micropayments as they're watching us right now to our channel. They're streaming little micropayments. We get an email after every show that says, you have received X amount, tallies it up. Not that it's a lot, but it could be like, 0.9 or 0.6. Sometimes it's 1.8. Bottom line is it's being micro streamed based on how long they watch, and it's coming in. And this is a tremendous use case. And Jeff, before you go, I just wanted to throw some of these comments up. John Deaton is going to be legendary. Loved your video, John. Keep posting, which I loved that one. I laughed. I actually watched it twice. That was a lot of fun, man. It was well edited too. Appreciate you, John Deaton. At least John Deaton showing the SEC who they're hurting. That's a good point. If they're not being active, they need to shut the F up. And Hester Peirce, otherwise known as Enforcement Mom. It's so funny. It's like this is what Jeff and I have been thinking for a long time. There's so much dissension within that organization, but they're out there writing blog posts and putting rocket ships on there and little emojis and cute little things and yapping up a storm. It's all talk. It's all cheap, and it's all baseless because it does nothing to advance anything down the field as far as and I still think people are missing the whole thing about. And Jeff, maybe you can go a little bit into this about what this means for not XRP holders. The entire crypto space. It's just fraud.
You're right, Chip. And John, to that point, you see so many people coming in here, with a lot of respect, for what you're doing. And by going and representing the XRP community in this, it's so much more far reaching than just the XRP community. Because if the SEC gets away with their case against Ripple, which as it's progressing, we see what a weak case it looks. They didn't seem to have full preparation to take it on because of all the things that you're saying. They're just missing elements. If Ripple was selling XRP and you want to claim it was a security 7-8 years ago, unregistered security, hey, that's okay, but you can't make those same claims today. Now, if they get away with that, the impact it's going to have on Stellar, on Zinfin, on, on Flare, on who knows how
VeChain,
many other
all down the line.
it's going to keep going. It's going to have a ripple effect, throughout the entire industry in the US, not anywhere else in the world right away, but first in the US.
The thing that astonishes me the most is this. I put this out on a tweet, and I just challenge people, read the writ of mandamus or read the memorandum of law and the motion to intervene. And if you're objective, even if you really, if in your heart you believe that Jed McCaleb and Larson and Garlinghouse, they're all in it to make themselves rich and all that. Okay, you believe that, that's fine. You believe the XRP is a shit coin. I get it. You believe that too. But read the actual evidence. And if you're objective, you will say the SEC has absolutely, without doubt, dropped the ball. They've engaged in misconduct potentially. Some of this stuff doesn't make sense. Only an ulterior motive makes sense, right? That it's for some of this stuff. And you can still have your opinions about the asset or about the executives. But how the government doing what it's doing, how you don't recognize that as the power grab and the jurisdictional expansion of these bureaucrats? How people don't see that is what really troubles me. And how what you're talking about, these other projects. Listen, why would the SEC send a notice out in that risk alert? That risk alert is a huge, huge deal. Okay, it mentions exchanges, it mentions venture capitalists, it mentions basically every category of an investor that's put on notice. But they say anything we say isn't official. So it's just like Hester Peirce goes on there and she goes, okay, what I'm about to say is not from the SEC or my fellow commissioners. Then they actually publish a risk alert that says the SEC doesn't approve this. The SEC, this isn't a statement of the isn't a statement of the SEC, and we're putting everyone on notice. Do these other projects not really think that if it went south and if they said XRP is a security, that every other project's not on notice, that they're next? What, the government's just going to go away if they can go after one project after the other and get 100 million in a settlement here, 200 million in a settlement here, $500 million in a settlement here? Every single project, including Bitcoin. All right. Now, people know I'm a Bitcoin fan. I fell in love with Bitcoin, years ago. All right. And so, including Bitcoin starts off arguably as a security. Absolutely. Whether it's the Ethereum Foundation, whether it was the Bitcoin Foundation, right? A small group of people when you have, even Bitcoin mining. How many Bitcoin miners are there? What, you got 3 or 2 Bitcoin mining groups that pretty much control a lot? If I started a Bitcoin mining company and I paid people in Bitcoin and I used it a certain way, you could even try to claim that I'm using it as a security. And that's the problem, and how there is absolutely no universal support within the community. Is what the SEC has done. I've been saying it from day one. Is is right from the art of war: divide and conquer.
Correct.
Right? Let's make these executives look like greedy pigs. Right? We're going to go into their bank accounts. We're not going to claim fraud, but we want to know, did they take an excessive vacation? Do they fly private everywhere they go? What's that relevant for?
Think about it. Absolutely. It has nothing to do with their case. Zero to do with their case.
Zero. And the judge would probably exclude it since fraud's not out there, but I bet it gets leaked.
Oh, right? Of course. But it's already been brought up. The idea. And like you said, I like how you put it out there. Now, here, go back to the idea that Hester Peirce is on the SEC, but yet she comes out and makes these statements. Then they distance themselves from her statements. I believe she's doing more damage than good by coming out and making those statements. Why? Because she's giving people a false sense that she's actually fighting on their behalf, not in public, but when she gets to the SEC. To me, that is even, more detrimental because, hey, you want to go to a blockchain conference and talk about blockchain and tell people how supportive you are of blockchain. That's awesome. But when the entire SEC comes out and says whatever she said isn't what we say, and when she goes behind closed doors with the SEC, she probably, closed mouth, isn't saying anything. We don't know. But, I just have this hunch that she isn't fighting the fight with the SEC, because if she were, she would be more outspoken saying, hey, these are my personal opinions. The rest of the SEC doesn't share them. And here's what you need to do as a community to address it, because here's what's happening.
She's a government employee, Jeff. What do you expect? By the way, I want to get the James Rule XRP here. This tip right here, the $19.99 was paid with XRP via probably his Uphold card. So it's boom into the system. It's being paid right now. Boom to the channel.
That's real use.
You guys do know that On the Chain made it in the motion, right?
I didn't see it. No, I looked through it and I must have missed it.
No. It says in the motion where I do that long string of like 3 pages of like semicolon. It says On the Chain receives podcast or whatever receives.
Nice. Yeah, I remember seeing it about YouTubers, but I must have missed that bit. That's awesome. Man. I appreciate that.
Also, James Rule XRP. I didn't name him, but I basically said people use their Uphold card and use XRP for daily uses at Walmart, Target, and Amazon. And so the community it's like I said before, if you read the memorandum, the community is in there, right? And so I appreciate all the respect that people are giving me, but I'm saying it from day one. I'll continue to say it. This is our product. This is our motion. I'm just a mouthpiece right now for the community, but this is our thing, and we're going to keep fighting. Now, I want to tell you, I'm going to show you how old I am, Jeff, because you're talking and both of you are talking about Hester, and it reminded me of 1984, George Orwell's 1984 novel about totalitarianism and Big Brother, when he invented the word doublethink. Doublethink is a process of indoctrination whereby the subject is expected to simultaneously accept 2 mutually contradictory beliefs as correct, and as a way to enter and be accepted in the community. It reminds me, she gets up there and she says these things, but then it's the opposite, like you say. So it's sort of like this double thing. We're being indoctrinated to believe the SEC is really, we're coming along, and it's a process, and we don't want to suppress innovation, and I'm calling bullshit.
Exactly.
And listen,
100%.
I do want to say I give Hester great credit for at least going out there and taking questions, and I'm not discouraging that. And if I ever got to speak to her, I'd be extremely respectful to her,
Of course, 100%.
and appreciative. But maybe she is really frustrated in that.
But don't forget, a year ago,
she's not approaching it the right way. That's how I think. She's not reaching out to the community and saying, "Here's what you need to do to help." It's not happening. I don't know if she can.
But she did put out that fair notice thing that she put out, or fair harbor. Hey, it wasn't great, but at least you could see that there was strife inside. That came out a year ago. They knew a lot of this stuff was going on behind the scenes. So it was her. Yeah. See, that's what I don't like about the SEC. It's like they float an idea out there. What do you think about this? And here's a proposal. To who? It's a lovely little blog post you put out there. I mean, yeah, I got some criticism, but who does that serve?
Nobody.
Thank you, Jeff.
Nobody. Hey, John, can you, I'm kind of going back up.
Yeah, Scott from XRP Army News.
I've been holding this on the screen for a little while, but XRP Army News was asking, what would a win mean for the XRP hodlers? And I guess, let's focus in on your case.
Well, a win, basically, I'm going to mean a win on the motion is what I'm assuming the question is. Is that, am I reading that right, or is a win overall?
I guess you can break it down because there are different levels of wins.
Right. Right now, what we're doing is we're asking the judge. It's going to get refiled, and there is, like I said, there is no deadline. When it gets refiled, and if she rules, and I believe the that we meet all 4 factors of intervention as right. It's pretty clear, you know, and just to kill this FUD about timeliness, the case law explains in detail, just so people know that that it's not a matter of counting the days. You know what I mean? Just so you know, the law in the Southern District of New York on timeliness is, quote, the timeliness requirement is flexible and it defies precise definition. How long the applicant had notice of the interest, prejudice to the existing parties, is any delay going to result in allowing the intervener in? The core concern is prejudice. And if there is no prejudice to the parties, then it could even be a longer period of time that goes by when you actually move to intervene. So Ripple, there's going to be no prejudice to Ripple. I'm assuming they'll take a no position one way or the other. I don't think they'll object. I don't know that. Maybe I'm wrong. And the SEC, what is their prejudice? Their prejudice is that the community that they're mandated to protect wants to be heard. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not asking her to throw out the case.
No.
Go
No,
after
exactly.
them. Go
They ought
after
to, though.
what you want. Go after them. Don't come after us. That's the point. So what's the prejudice? And so if she agrees and allows us to be at the table, then what we do is file basically a motion for summary judgment, declaratory judgment, where I go around, I'll be asking people to sign affidavits of how XRP is being used and how they got it. You know, for example, I left my daughter Jordan on the as one of the interveners because we're not asking for money. So there's no conflict, right? Right now, we're just asking to be heard on the argument. And the reason why I left her in is this is her story. It's perfect. She heard me talking about Bitcoin and digital assets. So she took her life savings at 18 years old. She had $15,000, right? And she took that $15,000. She took half of it and she bought Bitcoin. And then she took the other half and equally bought XRP and Ethereum. And her theory was, I'm just going to diversify and pick the top 3, right? I'm diversifying within this new asset class that Daddy keeps talking about. She never heard of Ripple. She never heard of Brad Garlinghouse. The only time my daughter, 19-year-old daughter who's in college, heard of Ripple is when she came to me. He's like, "What's this about XRP, Daddy? Am I supposed to sell it? Like, they're gonna like stop trading it? What's this mean? Who's Ripple?" All right.
Nice.
So because she has that story, that's a classic example of someone that has no connection to Ripple, who was just trying to like do the right thing and diversify, pick the top 3 and let it fly. You know what I mean? And so if the judge lets us in, we make that argument. We produce affidavits of its use. Everything that's on the paper, I could be coming to you guys saying, hey, I need an affidavit of how you accept XRP as micropayments.
Done.
I get an affidavit from Crypto Eddie. I get an affidavit from James Roy XRP. I'll go to Sergio Velez and ask him, how he's using XRP and overwhelm the court of how this asset is out there in the world, independent of Ripple, and there is no basis in law that you could say, SEC, that this is a security. And Judge, we need you to declare that the XRP, today's XRP that's not associated with Ripple, is not a security, and maybe the exchanges then, get the clarity they want. Now, if that's wishful thinking, I don't know, but I believe it'll at least force the SEC. What are they going to respond? Are they going to say, no, Deaton and XRP community, we believe the XRP in your Coinbase, Uphold, or Kraken, or whatever exchange is unregistered securities or are unregistered securities? Are they going to say that? If they're not going to say it, then maybe the judge says, well, if it's not what you're claiming, why don't we clear that up? Right. And then there's some kind of clarity that comes out. And so and then whatever happens, that way. So I don't know, like, because when you hear Hester speak, I'm pretty sure Hester would say, John, Chip, Jeff, I don't believe that the XRP in your accounts or wallets are securities.
It should be living up to her crypto mom. And I'll be like, crypto mom, you got the moniker back. You
Right.
earned your crypto mom card back.
Right. And
But that's what she believes. But that's what she believes. What
She
she
probably
does.
Right.
Two separate things.
And so then the question is, okay, what about the rest of you commissioners? Gary Gensler, what do you think?
Gotta knock
Okay,
their heads together.
But you don't believe that the XRP that's held by all of us is a security. That's not the target. Okay, then let's define it. Let's provide some clarity so that Coinbase knows or Kraken knows, hey, we're not engaging in illegal securities when we sell to Deaton or Chip or Jeff. Now what that does to XRP's price, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here's a question for you, John. So, I look at this and I look at the SEC. The SEC can make decisions based on existing law. They use, the Securities Act of 1933 and the Security Exchange Act of 1934. They rely on the Howey test from 1946. They look at, all of these bills that are 80 plus years old to make decisions. There's no bill sitting as law right now that gives them any kind of direction on how to act with digital asset, which puts them in a very, awkward position because they're trying to tell people this is how you must act without there being, a clear path on how we must act. And so how are they then bringing us to court or bringing a Ripple to court or, any other company to court when the clarity wasn't there to begin with? So now they're just kind of making it up, and whatever they're making up right now could potentially be changed based on an act from Congress. So what are your thoughts on that? You have the Token Taxonomy Act sitting in Congress right now that seeks to make some amendments to the, these securities acts from 33, 34. They want to adjust the IRS rule of 1986 and some other, components of it. This is the third time it's been presented in front of Congress by Warren Davidson and Darren Soto. But do you believe that an act of Congress is needed in order to provide clarity so that the SEC can provide the correct guidance?
Absolutely. It's the easiest solution. Also, it's why I believe that every one of these exchanges and every one of the leaders, whether it be Vitalik or whether it be Charles, whether it be JP, they should be getting together and they should be creating a lobby, all right, that lobbies Congress, because that's the only way you get these guys and gals' attention. All right, they want to be reelected. They don't want to come out in the private world and make a living. My personal opinion. All right, they like the power, and so we have to get to them instead of the division, right? And that's what I'm getting at. This case is so much bigger than Ripple. It's so much bigger than XRP, and so that is the solution. They need to get together. I kind of like the way the UK came out with their 3 classifications where you do have a security token and then you classify it in a certain way, but that needs to be done. When you look at the two companies that spent the most in lobbying, it was by far Ripple in 2020.
Yep.
At 650,000, and then Coinbase was at like 200 and some thousand, and then pretty much no other lobbying efforts.
Well, then you had the Blockchain Association,
change, right?
Yeah, and the Blockchain Association, they had an ex-Rippler on their board, and then they've got the ex-lobbyist who is the author of the Token Taxonomy sitting on there, and they have not said a word, and this is so vital. But another question I had for you that I've been wanting to get to, on a scale of yes or no, do you think Ripple's enjoying watching you? Because I saw Stuart Adirati, the chief counsel, comment on what that meant when they said that when the SEC came out and said, well, we're going to let the Southern District decide. Do you think they're sitting back and enjoying this? Maybe a cigar, maybe a glass of brandy, a little brandy sniff there, What do you think? You think they're enjoying it?
I can't really speak for him. I don't know, but I would say that based on what Stewart did publicly by texting it or tweeting it out, that they're happy that they committed on paper. You can't take that away.
No.
So regardless of whether the writ was a good idea or not, for their purposes, you basically have an admission from the agency saying we're kind of unsure. I thought that Dr. Roslin, the one that wrote Forbes,
the Forbes article,
Forbes article,
Oh, yeah.
she had the one of the best lines ever in that article, where she said, okay, they're telling Deaton that they're not sure, and the Southern District to figure it out, but at the same time, Brad and Chris should have known 7 years ago or 8 years ago that it was a security. And so I think that gives them a lot of ammunition in their motion to dismiss. You know what I mean? So and I think the SEC, the way that it's handled Ripple, and the fact of what they're doing, like I said about being a bully, when you don't have the law or the facts on your side, what do? You intimidate, right? We're going to go in, we're going to see your personal expenses, your wife's personal expenses, what you're spending money for. Oh, you spent $5,000. I'm making stuff up, by the way, $5,000 for caviar, you know what I mean? Or something like that. So then it can be publicized, and then these other projects be like, yeah, I hate those guys at Ripple, and they just keep them distracted. Right. You know what I mean? And so,
that's right.
But Congress is the answer, and I hate to say that because you're talking to someone that has no faith in our political leaders.
Yeah, that's problematic, John. I mean, we've got Maxine Waters, the head of the Financial Services Committee. the Bitcoin woman. She doesn't know anything about a digital asset. There's too many people there. They're clueless. You're right. I like one of the things you said. They don't want to grow up. They don't want to leave Congress. They've got it really, really cozy over there. They're making a shit ton of money on the backs of the people. The rules and the laws don't apply to them while they're in Congress, while they're out of Congress. It's kind of just a big shit show overall. But just real quick, we have almost 800 people on. We had 800 people on. If you're brand new to On the Chain, do us a favor. If you want to help support the channel, hit the red button that says subscribe on it. Subscribe to On the Chain. Hit the bell notifier. That way you guys get notified every time we post a live stream, which we do stream live Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we also have a virtual meetup that's coming up on March 28th. Go below and you can see a link to register for that. But John, I have another question for you because you brought up New York, obviously. There's something called the Martin Act in New York that has to do with securities. And it seems like there's, a lot of power given to the Attorney General of New York under this Martin Act. And it seems to be a little bit confusing. Why is New York the enforcer of the securities in general? Is it, what would you say to that? I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It's the Southern District of New York in general is the most considered the most prestigious of all federal districts. What was crazy is when Jay Clayton was first going to leave the SEC because he was going to be replacing the attorney, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. When that went down, I forget the guy's name, but the guy that was still there was like, I didn't resign and I'm not leaving any. And so the Jay Clayton thing fell through the cracks, but it's a very prestigious, New York being the financial capital of the world, or at least it was, for the last 50 years. I don't necessarily consider that it today. And so it's like, if I can make it New York, right? The saying, if I can make it New York, I can make it everywhere. It's just, since you have Wall Street there, you have the Southern District there. It's sort of become the enforcement arm, if you will. I mean, Rudy Giuliani became hugely famous for the white collar crimes, and the SEC lives there. I mean, go back to Martha Stewart, right? I mean, Martha Stewart goes to prison for talking to her broker, right? In the meantime, we can't find out, you know, why did Bill Hinman say that Ethereum was not a security? If they don't make public announcements about products, as Mr. Clayton would say, right? If they don't ever comment on specific products, why did in 2018 in June did he come out and say Ethereum is no longer a security? And then why when Glenn Hutchinson was interviewing Jay Clayton, when he said, okay, Bitcoin and Ethereum has been blessed with clarity, what about XRP? We don't talk about specific products. I want to know, and I'm starting to find out information that I'm not going to get into right now about Mr. Hinman and connections that he may or may not had with certain type of products, things of that nature. But I'm just saying those are the kind of things that we need answers to. You know
that's
what I mean?
why, yeah, exactly. And that's why I liked your one tweet where you had a really colorful emoji that looks like the middle finger. I was like, that's the best usage of an emoji I've seen in some time. But that was when you were critiquing. You were going after, what was the? I'm trying to think exactly what it was. You gave the gosh, you remember the one where you put the little middle finger at the very bottom, the emoji on one of your tweets?
I do. I don't remember what tweet it was.
I was trying to remember too. It's like I had it in my mind, and then
it's going to be a little long sometimes, guys. So
you're supposed to say that's every tweet, dude. You're supposed to say that's. I do that in every tweet, but no, I think this whole thing is really a lesson, right? I think that when we look back in time, like, what do you think we're going to look back in 10 years? You've got the brand new asset class in 400 plus years, right? And this is the way they're going to handle it, right? They're going to act like a bunch of kids. I like the Freedom of Information Act. I like the FOIA polls for, let's see what Jay Clayton has in his wallet. Let's see if he's got a crypto wallet. Let's see what he's been buying in the background. Does he have any XRP? Wonder what he has in his wallet. And I wonder what some of the other commissioners are they actively buying crypto? Right. And exactly, in the FOIA request that you made about getting their hands on the two previous commissioners and their interactions, saying don't do it, right? They basically came out and said in a letter, but we haven't seen that. We've heard about it, right? We don't know the actual interactions. We've never seen that.
Right. But think about what Ripple wants. In the meantime, the SEC says they're moving to strike their fair notice and due process. And by the way, let me just make this comment. If Ripple is successful with their notice, you're going to hear a lot of lawyers say, oh, yeah, I was on that. That's the great, beautiful thing about Twitter. You can go back and you can look at what was said before, right? Because like in January, I was trying to tweet, listen, this due process argument is got teeth to it. And if you think about the fact that, Jim Finland is made some great tweets about the 2015 DOJ FinCEN agreement. There was a binding agreement, non-prosecution agreement. The government entered into a contract with Ripple that said that you're going to register exclusively with FinCEN and no other agency. And now, right, that's 2015. And now, as the claims exist, the SEC saying that in 2015, when the U.S. government agreed that you would only register with FinCEN, we are charging you with the handling and transactions of illegal securities at the same time. Now, you don't have to like Ripple to say bullshit on that. That's you don't act like that. You don't do that, right? You and I get held to a contract. Right? We enter a contract, I breach it, I'm brought into court, and I've got to pay the damages. But the government can just say, oh, we're going to say it's a currency on this day, and we're going to make you apply to the banking laws on this day. 5 years later, we're going to say, well, you know what? It's actually a security at the same time that it was a virtual currency. We can't have a government that acts like that, America will lose. We will lose. And I don't like saying it. I wore a uniform. Trust me, I love my country. I was prepared to die for it, right? I tweeted about giving up my damn back for it. And it makes me upset to even think of the fact that we are losing this race that's happening right now. And if our government is going to handle the securities the way it is, if we have these politicians who are saying, oh, cryptocurrency is used for nefarious reasons and we're going to outlaw it and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, we're going to lose. And we're going to be, I don't know, no system as fiat system has ever succeeded in the long term.
And that's the thing. There is a threat out there, right? There is somewhat of a threat. And, the global, if you look at the control, it's like you're giving up control, putting some stuff on the blockchain, right? So central banks, they can't wait to print. They used to print money, but now they can't wait to print digital, currency, whatever. It's the same thing. It's just another ruse that they're going to capture people by. I think the whole thing in itself, the politicians, I mean, they're just paper pushers. They don't represent people. They don't represent us anymore. Here's the whole community of people yelling, screaming, whether it doesn't matter where you stand, Bitcoin Maxi, whatever project you like. Listen, you're right, John. This is going to take this country down. Imagine if we had done that to the internet and we sidestepped the internet back in the day and said, no, we're going to tax it. We're going to kill it, crush it. We wouldn't be where we are today and the advancements we had. But meanwhile, you got these bureaucrats who are just absolutely, like Jeff said it before, clueless. They don't even have there should almost be a minimal test for getting into Congress. It's like, do you know what a digital asset is? No. Hey, do you know what, some basic things. Remember how they embarrassed themselves in those Facebook hearings? Yeah. So tell me more about this book called Face. Yeah, it's on the internet. And how do you get on there exactly? And what do you do on there? And can you do this? I mean, it was absurd to the point of where you knew they have never been on Facebook. They don't know what it is. They didn't know what Twitter was, right? I mean, they all do now because they're all on there bloviating about their whatever project they get going on.
Tell us how to use that .com thing.
What is with this .com thing and who's using it?
.com.
But hasn't it been used for nefarious purposes, Jeff?
That's all it's used for. If you think about it, the whole internet is nothing but, a purpose for a nefarious purpose.
I mean, look at what did they want to do? They wanted to expand, and I think someone correct me if I'm wrong. Did they actually get it passed that the statute of limitations is 10 years now for securities?
I had read someone had posted something where they did they push something? Was it someone said right around that agreement? But it used to be 5, right?
Oh, it was 5, but it may actually be today 10. I'm been too busy to stay on top.
Yeah,
of
I'd like to know. Well, that's what that tolling agreements were for, to be able to go back more than 5 years, because that's how they get all the discovery, right? With all the emails and.
But the point I'm saying is let's imagine that the government gets 10 years. I want to ask Vitalik Buterin. Dude, you lost more intelligence in your sleep last night than I'll ever have. I get it. You're a genius. But do you really think that if the SEC gets its way against Ripple and now they have a 10-year statute, that they can't start looking at your banking statements? They can't start looking at your spending habits. And I don't want to come across as somebody who is this crazy anti-big brother. Government's necessary. But it's necessary in the minimalist ways, right?
Correct.
That's the way it's supposed to be. And as I say to everybody, let the market decide the winners, right?
And the losers.
It's unfair. It's unfair to say, well, we're going to give clarity for these two, and everybody else, well, you just hope we don't come after you. That's just not a way to innovate, and something's got to change, and hopefully they can do something in Congress. But until the industry gets together and united, starts pooling funds to try to target the politicians that they can get on board, that they can educate, and that they can get this legislation passed. Until that happens, we could be going on for 2-3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, 100%. You've got Warren Davidson in Ohio. You've got Darren Soto in Orlando. 3 times now they've introduced the Token Taxonomy Act. 3 times. You know, we rolled into March, and I said to Chip, I said, is it that time of year? Is the token taxonomy coming out? You know, there's a new Congress. And sure enough, the token taxonomy was launched again. And it's a shame. I mean, it really is, because the most critical legislation of our time for blockchain, for digital asset, has been put in front of Congress, and nothing, right? I mean, so far, I mean, it's only been a week, but we didn't see much action last time. We see bipartisan. But you brought up a really, really solid point with the whole idea of the lobbyists. So if you think about, you know, you said Ripple put in 650K. You had, what was it? The Ethereum Foundation kicked in a little bit. There's not enough money being put into lobbying by these entities. They're sitting on tons and tons of money. You know, they easily, the exchanges, billions of dollars, right? Billions. They pile it together, and they could have one of the strongest lobbyist groups in Washington right now. But what they're up against, and one of the reasons the politicians are buying their time with this, is because one of the strongest lobbyist groups up there are the financial institutions and the banking, institutions. So you put all that together, those guys are constantly lobbying, for whatever they need to lobby for. And so when you've got the old guard and the brick and mortars sitting there constantly chiming in their ears, and they have been for eons, who are they going to listen to? The new guys on the block, or the guys that have been paying their way this whole time?
Yep. By the way, Rob XRP, thank you for that. He says, thank you, Mr. Deaton, for everything you're doing for the XRP community. And I second that. That's been the sentiment pretty much in the chat all night, where people are, I think as XRP holders, we're just ecstatic of the fact that we got a fighter. We've got a prize fighter in the ring who's stepping up. And, it's like to know that you're just one person out there that read the fundamentals, looked at the project, said, this is sound, it's going to be big, and to be have all that value eroded, and then somebody to step up is huge. Well,
let me too also say, though, there's been the XRP community that has been so amazing. Somebody tweeted something about me, and it was like, this lawyer has never, ever mentioned. Hold on, I think we got a problem.
Oh, that's Chip. That's okay.
Oh, sorry, I froze up. I froze up a bit. Sorry.
It's right. Chip's AOL dial-up connection.
What I want to say is,
it's faster now.
Somebody tweeted, and they were obviously talking about me, and they were saying this lawyer has never tweeted about cryptocurrency ever until after the Ripple lawsuit. You people are stupid if you don't know what's going on. And I looked at, and I'm not going to answer that stuff, to be honest with you, but somebody, and I wish I remembered who it was, he had to spend like 2-3 hours, because you've seen my threads, you're not going to get through that quickly, right? But he went back all the way to like July or June of 2020. So like 6-7 months before the Ripple lawsuit, I had sent a tweet to Laura Shin who had did she's not a fan of XRP.
Yeah, I saw that podcast. Yeah.
Right. And
those two knucklehead attorneys.
Right. And all I said to her was, hey, I'm a investor holder of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. I noticed your thing. Don't you agree with me that a lot has changed since then? The point I'm making is that person who follows me, like defending me, like spent all that time, that tweets that old tweet of mine to the person who said I had never tweeted about cryptocurrency until after the lawsuits. Like, what do you think about your theory now, jerk? So I don't even have to respond, because you guys are so effing incredible.
I call that throat punching. I love that. Real quick ones. You don't even see it coming. So just incapacitate him.
Listen, I had a guy, his name's Joe, in my law firm, and I hear someone come in the office and they're like, hey, I just want to say thank you to the guy. And he goes, I know he's busy. And I see him. I'm like, what's up, man? And he comes over and he's like, listen, I'm a cop. We're in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and there's a group of us. We're XRP holders. And I told the guys, I'm stopping in and thanking this dude. And, we gave a fist pump, and
Nice, man.
Like I'm just saying, like the people. I wish the SEC could see. Those are the people, right? Cops, teachers, entrepreneurs, small businessmen, someone who got an inheritance from their dad and they invest in this new asset class. That's who your people are. That's who you protect. And so, and that's who you're hurting. And I don't care who you are. If you're a lawyer and if that doesn't get your shoulders broader, right? I'm not intimidated to go against the SEC, trust me. But if I was a little scared, I wouldn't be, because I have all those people sort of, energizing me and giving me inspiration. And I'm not saying it. I mean it sincerely. I'm not just saying it for the sake of it. It's why at 3 a.m. I'll be like, I'm up for a reason.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey,
Type it
John,
away.
real quick.
Yeah.
We've had a couple comments like this, but Fred is asking if you want more people to sign up for the class action lawsuit. If so, how do they sign up for it? Like, what's going on now? So I guess that part first. Are you looking for more people to sign up? How can they sign up?
Right. Everybody can go. If you go to my Twitter account, it's pinned to my Twitter handle. It's a pinned tweet.
All right.
It's
I'll drop
right
it in
under
there.
You want to grab it? All right.
Yep.
That's an easy way. If you're on Twitter, if you're not on Twitter, then you email all Deaton, ALL-Deaton at DeatonLawFirm.com, and then we'll send you the Google form that you fill out. It went from 6,000 today. It's probably 6,800. So
I just dropped the link in there, guys, so you can click on that. And I guess I could probably, if I go right to the form, I probably could drop that in there too. That way you guys can pull that right up on your computer. Yeah, let me do this. Let me drop the, this is the Google form. There we go.
Got it.
This is the Google form right there to join the class action. So if you guys click, if you click on that, you'll be able to go right there and start filling it out. Put all your information in there. And by the way, I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying this blog that you have here as well, because I'm a guy that likes to read stuff and consume it. I mean, I like videos too. You want to take that one, Jeff?
Yeah, let's read this one. So, Michael, thank you for the support. For all those guys that are you're new on the channel, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and sub to the channel. Let me read this one. Knowing what we may know about exchanges coming to the SEC for guidance, and after the writ response, would the exchanges have legal recourse for the SEC?
The answer is no, because the SEC is so non-committal, right? And it's what they want to do. They want to keep it vague. They don't want to provide clarity. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not taking shots at them, because they want the ability. And when the exchanges come to them, like Coinbase or whoever in 2019, and say, hey, we're thinking about listing XRP. We know there's a private lawsuit about it being a security, and you all have never come out like you did with Bitcoin, Ethereum. Before we list this, we don't want to be charged with illegal securities transaction. If you think it's a security, let us know. And I don't know exactly how the SEC responded, but they didn't say don't list it. They didn't say we think it's a security. They didn't say 1 year from today we will file a lawsuit, enforcement action, claiming it's a security. They gave them the impression that it was okay, right? They had to, because if you literally go to the exchange and ask that question and then you list it, they gave you some kind of impression that it wasn't a security, or you wouldn't have listed it as a business. And so, but because the SEC gets to change their mind, they technically aren't changing their mind, right? Because they're saying, well, we don't even know it's security. The Southern District will tell us it is. And if the Southern District tells us it's a security, then yes, we might go after Uphold after that, because now Uphold, you've been selling an unregistered security. That's how the government's acting, and that's the way they're engaging in this policy, by enforcement, and that's got to stop in this country. It's got to stop.
Here's another question from Andrew.
Go ahead.
Andrew Handelsman, thank you for the support. He says, John, do you want us to submit a why the SEC has harmed my investment letter? I've joined the lawsuit, but would this help any further?
I would say that, first of all, let me say this too. Nobody should email the court. Okay. Yeah. Make that clear. I know people want to be helpful, but do not inundate Judge Torres.
It's not going to help.
It's not going to help. If anything, it's going to aggravate. And I want to absolutely publicly discourage that, because I believe there may have been an email sent to her by an XRP holder, and haven't seen it, but I heard about it, and I just want to make sure that that's not done.
Like on the hearing, remember the hearing? She kept, would you please mute your phone, please? And people yelling XRP to the moon. Come on, this is, you got to have some respect for the court. I mean, it's not right.
But at the end of the day, the way the SEC is handling itself, they have plausible deniability, right? They could say to the exchange, we didn't tell you it wasn't a security officially, and we didn't tell you it was. So if we win in court, we can now go after these other exchanges, because look, you've been engaging in illegal securities for the last years, and you were put on notice when we filed the claim against Ripple, right? And that's why the Coinbase and Kraken and all of them are going to suspend it, right? They just said that if it gets deemed a security, there's a good chance I might get caught into it. So because the SEC is claiming it's a security, I'm now on notice that it could be deemed a security later. And so I can at least say that I stopped when the SEC did something about it being a security. It's conservative. What JP and Uphold and others are doing, I applaud it, but it's much more aggressive. It's much riskier business practice to do that. I think they're going to be rewarded for it, though, personally.
By the way, that last comment I read from Andrew, he said he meant to say, would we send these type of letters? Would they help if we sent them to your office, or would you like to be in receipt of these type of letters? But I think affidavit's what you were looking for, right? Affidavit testimony saying, like, because we could provide affidavits too, to say as YouTubers, but I think the more you have of that speaks loudly too.
I think if what's going to happen is, if we're successful and the judge allows us to be heard at that point in time, then it's going to be, and I don't necessarily need 6,000, but we want to be able to provide. The judge isn't just going to take my saying it in the motion as evidence, right? I have to prove it independently. So then it would be businesses like yours. This is how I use XRP, but also then I would want some damage statements, people saying, listen, this is how I've been hurt. We don't want to lose sight of that. I mean, there are some really, really, really tragic cases out there. As I said to you guys, maybe on the first time we streamed, whether it was a bad decision or not, you had people leveraging on XRP at 100%, and then they get liquidated, and then, they lose $50,000, their entire inheritance. Because someone said, hey, XRP is going to the moon. They're a naive investor. They're naive, and they're young, and we've all done young, dumb things. You know what I mean? But my whole position is that's who the SEC is supposed to protect. With all due respect, Jeff and Chip and John Deaton, we don't need the SEC to protect us. Right? Just leave us alone. We just want to be left alone.
That's what we always want. That's what we always want from our government. We don't need you to decide winners and losers. We need you to set the framework, and then let us be, and then let us, because they never think you're smart enough. We're not smart enough to figure stuff out. We are. We're smart enough. We and if we make mistakes, by the way, you mentioned young dumb stuff. I've done middle-aged dumb stuff and older dumb stuff too.
Yeah,
I seem to be in a pattern, some sort of a holding pattern here, but it happens. Sometimes you make some good calls, sometimes you don't. That's how life works.
The one thing I do want to say, where like the critics are like, oh, when they focus all on the legal thing, there's a famous saying in a jury trial, and that is, you can't unring a bell. So even if we were to lose, all right, It's out there. You can't unring the bell. All right. The court and the world's on notice. There's 6,000. Tomorrow it might be 7,000. By the end of the week, it might be 10,000 XRP holders saying, hey, I want my voice heard. And look at all the ways that the SEC has damaged us. And, you know, there's something to that, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't want people discouraged every time there's a little setback legally that you know, it's doomsday. We're making progress. It may not, you know, it's frustrating at times for me too, but don't give up. We're not going to give up.
Yeah, the XRP attorney, I'm sure you know him from Twitter. He says, John, do you believe the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit has anything to do with Ripple's escrowed XRP?
Well, I mean, one way to look at it is if you have 55 billion XRP, is that what it currently is, guys?
It's like 50. I think it's a little bit less than 50 billion. It's like 40, 45 and change,
right,
maybe.
So if you have 45 billion XRP and you know, XRP gets up to $10 in XRP, I mean, you're talking about a lot of money. If it gets up to, you know, higher than that, I think that, you know, there's always been that theory, I guess, that the government's not going to let someone become a trillionaire. You know, if XRP got to 100, wouldn't that make, if you own a billion XRP and you times it by 100, is that a trillion? I don't know.
I'm not good at math, John, but what I do know is the fact that it is locked up in escrow, and the only thing that can decide how that works would be the validator nodes have to agree 80%. So they'd have to put an amendment out there, because they could burn it too. They could say, hey,
sure,
let's like, it's kind of like what Stellar did. The foundation decided to go ahead and burn it, but they could say, if it's locked in escrow, really Ripple doesn't control that. They'd have to put an amendment out, and then because it's decentralized, they'd have to have enough. They've had 80% consensus on the validator nodes to actually, so that's where I think it's kind of safe. I know a lot of people have this theory about that obviously I think they're right about the government. Nobody wants some company being richer than the government. We just go, hey, we'll buy the United States. What else? What other country? It'd be like that game of Risk. You know what I mean? Just buy all these little things on the board.
But I will say this to XRP attorney, which is if Ripple had 55 million XRP, maybe we wouldn't be here. If that's the point, that I don't know, you know, whether or not the government is sitting there saying we want to get our hands on that XRP. You know, I can't go that far, but there's no doubt in my mind that, you know, if instead of if they have 45 billion and it's at a dollar, that's 45 billion dollars sitting in the escrow. Again, if it gets to 10, that's 450 billion dollars. And so I think it's got the government's attention. How much of the motivation of the government is related to the escrow, I can't answer that. It's relevant. Some people believe it's the entire game. I don't know if it's the entire game. You know what I mean? I think that we still have to answer this question. One of the things I put in this memorandum is just think about this for a minute logically. One of the co-founders of Ripple, Jed McCaleb, is selling millions of XRP weekly. You have sued Ripple for selling XRP presently as a security. And you have caused me and others not to be able to trade our XRP on Coinbase and these other exchanges, while the co-founder of the company that you're going after sells millions every day. That's just illogical, right? And people can say, oh, it's because, you know, it's Ripple is still the company. And no, it doesn't make any sense, is what I'm saying. And so there's some kind of reason why did Mark Berger and Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman, why did they give a pass to Ethereum and Bitcoin and refuse to do anything related to XRP? Why did they file this case on the last day? Why did they leave the SEC shortly within, 1 day for Clayton and 3 weeks for Berger? Hinman left a couple months before that. Why are they all gone? Why do it on that day when you were warned that it was going to cause more losses in any non-fraud case in the history of the United States?
Because I think because they own Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's the easy answer right there. I mean, but who knows? By the way, did you know that 10 billion plus times 10 equals a 1957 Chevy? Ronnie Size will let us know that. I was like, what?
Perfect. I didn't realize that.
That's great. By the way, the other day, I thought about you the other day, John. I'm walking my dog, and I see a 1926-ish Roadster drive by, and I'm thinking, that is like a few years within the 1933-34 securities law. I'm like, it looks so obscene on the road. It's just like, I heard a hooga, and I'm like, I see a guy driving it, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Is that for real? I'm looking at the guy, and then I see a Lexus behind it. Then I see, a Mercedes, and I'm like, and here's this guy driving this old Roadster, a real square top and everything. And I'm like, that's how long ago the damn law was written about, securities law.
That's a classic, pathetic. Just like the law.
Yeah, just like the law. But they have to still look. They have to go in the court of law and prove that it hits all four prongs, prove it was an investment contract, prove that they sold it, prove they misrepresented it. By the way, I did find some humor in the response when one of the attorneys said, yeah, you're right. It wasn't registered with the SEC because it didn't have to be. I thought there was just a little snap, just a little bang, you know what I mean? Just a something, because it didn't have to be. There was no requirement because it's not a security. That was clever. There was some fun stuff in there like that.
But we have U.S. senators who are going to have to vote on what we need voted on at some point. And you've got 90-year-old, 89-year-old senators that were born before Howey was decided.
That's right.
Oh my God, that's even.
I mean,
I didn't think of that.
News.
Feinstein,
Right.
I think, was born in 1931.
Oh yeah, that's scary too. You think about that. They're like 1946, man. That was just like yesterday. They remember that. They can remember when it passed. They're like, holy cow, that's just current news.
I remember.
For them. I remember back in the day.
Back in the day, see.
So you see, Babs McGee over here is saying, would suing, and thank you for the support, Babs. Would suing Jay Clayton produce any effective outcome, or is he legally immune during his tenure as SEC chairman?
I mean, this is a great question. It's an open-ended question. I explain it this way to people. You have immunity if you're acting within the scope of your job, right? So it's like sort of police officers. If they arrest you and they're acting in the scope of their job and they were wrong, they didn't have probable cause, you could sue them individually, but they get out of the case because they were acting within the scope of their duties. But when you get into intentional misconduct, it's like you have this discretion. So when you have discretion, a court can't tell the executive branch, we disagree with the way you used your discretion, and therefore now you're punished. But when you get into misconduct or intentional acts, then it's different. Like, take the president of the United States. He has the ability to pardon. And that's a pretty exclusive ability, right? It can't be questioned much. But if Joe Biden pardoned someone because they weren't going to investigate his son, right? I'm not using Trump because it'll make everybody crazy. Then that's not legitimate use of the power. So if Jay Clayton, if we can prove that he intentionally sued Ripple so that a competitor could succeed while Ripple is just completely buried in litigation for years, if you can make those connections, then maybe you can, but it's a very high burden. Even suing the SEC for XRP holders is a very high burden. We're going to have to prove that there was a gross abuse of discretion, that it's so gross that it shocks the conscience, right? And so this sovereign immunity, it's a problem that we always have, and that's why these guys, when they get in office, they feel insulated. I mean, look how blatant it is for Clayton on his way out the door, and Berger as the chief enforcement officer. Yeah, we're going to file the single greatest enforcement action since 1946, and we're going to leave.
Leave the next day.
We're not going to see it through. We're not going to see it through. Right? It's like something's odd is going on. There's more to the backstory. I mean, I threw out those theories. Is it political revenge because Ripple got to like some of the politicians and they were like going after Clayton, and then his way out the door, it's an F you and let me slap you, and I got my buddy and a couple people to vote for me so we can do it? Or is it because of the personal gain theory? Or is it he's taking one for the team? Hey, we don't know what to do with digital assets. I'll agree to file the case on my clock. I'm leaving. I don't care. And let the court decide whether a digital token is a security. It's one of those theories, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't know which one.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, let's get this one. So Susie Kusia says, thank you, John, for helping this awesome XRP community with his SEC class action lawsuit. I'm a single female fan, I believe that says, I don't know. And I've been accumulating for 4 years. What they did all of a sudden, so not fair. I am forever grateful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, and then Alex Steve Logs just says a big thank you. Appreciate that, Alex. Awesome, man. He's also a great YouTuber out there as well. So, guys, we're getting to the point where we want to wrap this up. John, I really want to thank you so much for your generosity, just in the community, what you've done with the community. And you even answer a lot of tweets and stuff. I don't know where you find the time, but you're just generous for your time. And then coming on the show, it's your third time on the chain. We love having you on here, man. You're almost like a fixture, man. You're like on the chain official legal eagle.
Hey, you know what happens on number 5.
Listen, you guys were the first ones to reach out. It's my pleasure. I'll come on anytime that we have something that we need to talk about, like today, clearing up that FUD. I know early on we did that. If people tuned in, they should go back, like, subscribe, and all those things, and look at the beginning where we dispelled some of the FUD that's going on in the community right now. We have a lot of fight left, and it's not over. Don't let them fool you that they're out of time and they had their one shot. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. There'll be something in the near future. You'll see it go down. We'll see how it plays out. Soldier on, fight to the death.
Okay, we got one more here before
last one. We're getting out of here, guys.
Yeah, the lover. Thank you for the support. Glad you're here with us tonight. What is the expected outcome if the court finds that XRP was a security in the early days, but is morphed into a currency?
I think that's the only legitimate outcome. Even if one could say, well, it's unfair that Ripple, that Ethereum got away with it, but Ripple has to pay something. But that's a good outcome for the XRP holders, because it would basically go back to that Hinman Ethereum concept that it started off as a security, but by this point in time, it is a sufficiently decentralized. There are hundreds of use cases that are independent of this one entity, and it will survive without that entity. Therefore, it is a form of currency. If that were the decision, there would be no reason for the exchanges to continue to suspend it or delist it. And it could hopefully get back to where it should be. You know what I mean? So that would be a good outcome for us. As far as Ripple goes, I guess it all depends on how big of an outcome that is. Is that a settlement or a verdict? You know what I mean? But I think Ripple is doing a sufficient good job. And I think that this whole theory here, the SEC does not want their internal discussions about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP to come out. They don't. All right. Or they wouldn't be hiding at this. They want to stop this fair notice
due
process argument Now, which I do not see the judge agreeing to that, you at least allow discovery because they don't want to engage in that discovery. I always had this theory as a trial attorney, and that's this: you give me everything you need. That's not privilege. You give me everything, I give you everything, and we go into court and we fight it out, right? It's a fair fight. The best side wins. Whatever. We shake hands afterwards, whatever we have to do, but we don't hide the ball. We don't hide evidence. We don't hide behind anything. The SEC is hiding behind something. Why not disclose? When you talked to the exchanges in 2019, what did you tell them? Give us any emails, correspondence. If you had a discussion, if Hester Peirce had a debate about XRP, all right, with one of her colleagues, if they're arguing and one of them says it's not a security and the other says it is, how can you say that Brad Garlinghouse should have known it was a security if your own commissioners say it's not? They don't want to come out.
In 2021, mind you, right? This isn't like 10 years ago or whatever. It's funny. Right. Holy cow. Well, listen, super sticker. Thank you, Paul Salas. Guys, everybody in the chat today, really wonderful questions. I know we couldn't get into them all, but again, we'll have John back when some new developments happen. And we're going to get out of here. And
all right, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you as always.
Yeah, John, hang out for just 1 minute while we sign out. Just want to say, appreciate everybody. Appreciate your support, Mama Lacey. We have people that tune in from all over the world, and we have people. Chip's still talking over there. I'm not sure the delay.
I'm delayed, guys. Sorry.
It's great. I could just, but. We have people that tune in from all over the world, and there's people up right now. It's probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. And they're still tuning in to listen to this. So, definitely appreciate all of that. We do have our virtual meetup that On the Chain is sponsoring coming up March 28th. Go check out in the description below to get, the registration link. We're also going to put some of the information from the case. If you want to join the class action, we'll put a link in the description there as well. And tomorrow is another night, and we'll be back here on the chain live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a lot more to talk about. That's all I got, Chip.
See you on the next one. Take care. Take care, John. Thank you. Just hang out for us.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.